try that one more time. This is gonna be a lot harder because I don't even really remember. I don't know why I can't speak today. I feel like I don't know if that's true. I think I can just finish this clip, or do you think I'm just doomed? Hello book lovers, welcome back to the channel. My name is Steph, and in today's video I will be giving you 10 genre blend recommendations. So as you guys all know by now, I am participating in Escape the Readathon, and one of the prompts for Escape the Readathon is that you have to read a genre blend book. One thing that I kind of noticed is that people have been having a really hard time like choosing a genre blend and trying to figure out what to read. So today I have compiled a list of 10 of some of my favorite genre blend books. A lot of these books are older releases, so they have been out for a few years, so they shouldn't be too hard to find, especially if you are looking at picking them up at your library. I also have a ton of different genres that I will be talking about today, and I don't have any particular order that I will be doing it. But like I said, I do have 10 recommendations for you guys, so let's get started again in no particular order. The first one that I have to talk about is a bit of a long one, and it is part of a series, so it is a little bit of a commitment, but I really think that it is worth it, and that is Renegades by Marissa Meyer. This has not been talked about on BookTube for a long time. Again, this is years old, but I still think about this entire series. This basically mixes like fantasy and sci-fi. It is a little bit of like a dystopian world as well. So this is essentially a YA, and it is really all about superheroes. We do have these heroes called the Renegades, and they are basically humans that possess extraordinary abilities. In this book, we are following a main character by the name of Nova, and Nova is kind of torn between the Renegades and the villains. And yeah, like I said, this is super long, so it's not the greatest book for a readathon, but I personally think that it reads very fast. And there are 2 other books in this trilogy, so I would highly recommend checking this series out, especially because not a lot of people are talking about it anymore. I thought that it was a really solid series. The next book that I have to talk about is again one that I don't really hear many people talking about, and that is Jar of Hearts by Jennifer Hillier. This one we do blend mystery and thriller. So in this we do follow a couple of characters, one that has gone missing at the beginning of this book, and then years later her body is discovered. And the body is not only discovered, but it is discovered near her best friend's home. So all of a sudden the police do start suspecting her best friend as having something to do with the killing. The detective that is also investigating this case knew both of the girls and also had a romantic relationship with one of them. This one I haven't read in a very long time, and to be honest, when I read it, it was one of my favorite mystery and thrillers. I have since read so many mystery and thrillers, but I do feel like this one still is a really good standout that I still think about. I remember it being so fast-paced, and the twists and turns were coming at the end, and they were just so good, and I highly recommend this if you are looking for a mystery and thriller. And I would recommend this. I think this is perfect for a readathon as it is pretty short and it reads very quickly. It's very fast-paced and makes you want to keep reading. The next book I have looks super intimidating, but I promise with all of the mixed media, it does read very quickly, and again, an oldie, but one that I do think about a lot, and that is Illuminae by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. This one blends sci-fi, and it is marketed as fantasy, but I would think it's more so like a thriller. I think it reads way more thrilling, so I would probably blend them as like dystopian sci-fi thriller. This is a YA, and we do follow our main character, Katie, who pretty much thinks that the worst thing that's going to happen to her in the day is that she had to break up with her boyfriend Ezra, but unfortunately her planet does end up getting invaded. This does take place in the future as well. I believe it is taking place in like 2575, and yeah, this mega corporation basically declares war against 2 planets, and we get to kind of see them through a lot of mixed media. I will show you inside of the book. It's letters, but it's also writing of like going through a video, so someone has scribed a video, so you are basically like very much immersed in the story. So right here we do have like emails, and then you have like text conversations. So it does read quite quickly, even though it is over, I believe, 600 pages, but it's very quick and it keeps you very much engaged. So I would highly recommend this one. Another one that was super popular. You obviously don't hear too many people talking about it now just because it has been years since this came out, but I still think about this book to this day. This is my favorite book by this author, and I was just completely obsessed with this concept. I think everybody should read this book, and that is going to be The One by John Mars. characters. This, I would say, definitely blends like a thriller and sci-fi element. So in a nutshell, this book, we are basically in a world where a company has developed a DNA test where you can actually voluntarily take your DNA and it will actually match you with your perfect match based off of this technology that this company has created. The only way that you get matched is if your match has also submitted their DNA, and then you do get told that you have found your match. What makes this book so interesting is that you follow so many different characters' stories. So some of them are married, some of them are single. They pretty much come from all different backgrounds. There is a wide variety of like diversity within the characters, and you really see what this DNA match does to certain people's lives. Do people believe it? Do they not? Do they like uproot their entire lives and try to like navigate what they had lived before, or are they going to try and see if their perfect match is actually the one that they want to be with? There was so much going on in here, and this honestly was such a turning point for me in my reading. I just absolutely love books like this. If you guys have any recommendations of something that is very similar to this, then I would love it if you dropped it down in the comments below, because I just feel like this is so unique and it was like so stand out for its time, because I still think about this book to this day. The next recommendation I have is, I wouldn't say so much controversial, but I know that a lot of people have really not liked this book. But if this is your type of book, then I 100% think that you should pick this up if it sounds interesting to you, because this book really worked for me. It is one that I think about constantly and I absolutely loved it. And that is The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. This mixes, I would say, mystery and thriller the most, but there is definitely some type of like fantastical element to it, because the main story of this is that we are visiting a very wealthy house, and the daughter of the owner of this house is named Evelyn Hardcastle, and she ends up dying at this party that is being held at this house. Now, the stipulation here is that that day repeats itself constantly until our main character, Aiden, is able to solve her murder. So we are basically reliving the exact same day over and over again until he is able to piece together exactly what happened to Evelyn Hardcastle. So I would say that there is like a bit of a like fantastical element to it, as we are just repeating the same day. Again, I know this book has not worked for a lot of people, but honestly, for me, this book was just perfection. I was so drawn to the story, and I was so drawn to the mystery and just the way that this was written and set up. I was very much captivated by what was happening, and I did not want to put this down because I just wanted to get to the end. I just absolutely fell in love with the concept of this book, so I think I enjoyed the actual concept and the lead up to the ending way more than I did so the ending, but I still recommend this book all the time, and it is definitely one of my all-time faves. Speaking of favorites of all time, this is definitely like my top 3 like favorite books of all time. It may actually be my like #1 best book that I've ever read. I just cannot stop like thinking about this book. I was completely obsessed with this book from the first time that I ever read it, and I don't ever stop recommending this book. This was one of the easiest 5 stars that I have ever given, and again, this is definitely like my top 3 favorite book of all time, and that is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I don't actually know if I've ever really talked about this book on my channel. I probably talked about it in the video where I did my all-time favorite books, but that was the first video that I posted when I revamped and redid my channel, so I don't think I've actually been able to really talk about it, so I am so excited to be sharing this book with you all now. I'm sure that you all have read this book already, or at least have heard about it, because it was all the buzz a few years ago. Everybody was talking about it, and it deserves all of the hype. So this is a sci-fi thriller. It definitely blends both of those like perfectly. I feel like it is just as much sci-fi as it is thrilling. So if you are not a fan of sci-fi, don't let this like deter you from reading this. It does get a little bit heavy on the sci-fi terms and things that start to happen as the story develops, but I don't think that it diminishes from the story. Like, you don't actually need to really understand the sci-fi elements to understand like what our main character is trying to do. So this follows the story of Jason. Jason has a very quiet life. He has a wife and a son, and one day at night he is walking home and ends up getting kidnapped and knocked out, and when he wakes up on a gurney, and when he goes back to his life, he realizes that his wife is no longer his wife and his son has never existed. So that is all I will tell you about the story. That happens right in the beginning. It's very much a fast-paced story from beginning to end. I have actually reread this book already, which is something that is very rare for me. I barely ever reread books, but I did pick this back up because I am just so obsessed with it. I want to reread this pretty much every year because I don't think I could ever get bored of this story. I cannot recommend this enough. If you take one recommendation recommendation from this entire video, let it be this one, because this is definitely like an all-time favorite for me. One that I have talked about quite a bit on my channel recently, so I won't harp too much, but I will just say that I highly do recommend it, and that is Heartless Hunter by Kristen Cicerelli. This is a fantasy romance, so we do follow two main characters, Rune and Gideon. This is very much like a cat and mouse chase. If you are into that, it is very much like a slow burn enemies to lovers. And essentially the way that I like to pitch this book is that our main character Rune is a witch, and then our other main character Gideon is a witch hunter. So the two of them are playing this cat and mouse game, and they don't even know that they are both kind of after one another. So it is so interesting to see the dynamic of like, can we trust what they are saying? Is this all part of them just trying to manipulate the other person? I thought that this was so well done. I read the duology immediately, which again is not something I ever do, but I was so intrigued by this story. I tabbed this like crazy, as you can see, and I was just obsessed with this. Again, I do talk about this quite a bit on my channel recently, so I won't harp on it too much, but definitely a really good one to check out. So the next book I have to talk about is again one that you all have probably seen and heard through BookTube so often, but it definitely deserves all of the hype. I didn't like the sequel as much. This is a duology, and I think that the author has like been rumored to potentially be releasing another one in this series, but that's all to say that I didn't love the sequel as much, but I do think that the first book is still 100% worth checking out, and that is Vicious by V.E. Schwab. This, I would say, blends fantasy and sci-fi. We do follow our two main characters, Victor and Eli. They are attending school at the beginning of this book, and they are friends working on a thesis of trying to figure out how to become extraordinaries. So in this world, there are these things called extraordinaries where they do possess like supernatural abilities. So they are working on a thesis, and then one day they do decide to put that to the test, and things go horribly wrong. We also get to follow 10 years in the future where the two of them are actually no longer friends. This is very much like a superhero villain story. All of the characters in this book are very morally gray, and it really does make for such an interesting reading experience because you don't know if you should be rooting for them or if you should be kind of like against them, but you kind of always like teeter back and forth between like, are they good, are they not? It's a very interesting concept, and it was done so wonderfully well that I think that this book deserves all the praise and hype that it does get, and I highly recommend that you check this one out. The next book I have is again a little bit controversial because I feel like a lot of people wouldn't really consider this a genre blend, but I definitely do, and I also know that a lot of people don't like this book, and this is definitely not going to be for everybody, but if I am somebody that you do have similar tastes with, then I would 100% think about checking this out, because this is again one of my all-time favorite books as well. It is one that I think about very often, and I would absolutely love to reread it because I feel like the more you reread this book, you can always like take something new from it. And I also feel like this author, I can pretty much recommend any of his books and they could be on this list because they are all fantastic. I have loved every single book that I have read by this author, but the book specifically that I am talking about is I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. I will start off by saying that if you have watched the Netflix adaptation and you did not like it, but you haven't read the book yet, I would actually still give the book a try because I feel like this is done so much better than the movie. I actually couldn't even watch the movie. I did not enjoy it at all, but the book, I was definitely like nonstop reading it and wanting to know what was going on because it is just one of those books that is super strange. So these genres that I think blend in here are horror and thriller. I don't think a lot of people would think this is thrilling, but I was definitely on the edge of my seat while reading this because it just leaves you with such an eerie feeling. There isn't really much I will say about this book because I think that you should go in as blind as possible, and I also think that the story kind of puts you in this position where you are very much blind while you are reading it. You do follow a woman who basically embarks on this road trip with her boyfriend. You don't ever find out her name throughout the novel, so it's very much a sense of like mystery and what is going on. And then while on this road trip, things take a very bad turn. Again, I know that this is not going to work for everybody, and this is definitely like a very weird book, but I feel like it is super short, so it is perfect for this readathon, and I think that you definitely get some payoff at the end of this book, although you do have a lot of unanswered questions as well. So if that is not the kind of style of book you like, I would not pick this up, but if you are into that, I would 100% recommend this. I absolutely think about this book all of the time and absolutely love it. And And finally, the last book that I have for my genre blend recommendations. This is one, again, that I have talked about quite a bit on my channel. I'm absolutely obsessed with this book. This is my favorite book by this author. I recommend this book to absolutely everybody that is very much into mystery and thrillers, and that is going to be Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. This is my favorite Riley Sager. I feel like this book just like propelled him into my favorite author, and everything that he has written since has just been quite a disappointment compared to this book. Again, this book is very funny because people really either love or hate it, and that is all based on the ending. So typically anybody that I have seen talking about this book says that they have absolutely loved it, and then if they do end up giving it a poor rating, it is because they hate the ending. But if you love this book, then the ending is something that you absolutely loved, and that is the case for me. I really enjoyed this book. This reminds me of one of my all-time favorite horror movies, which I will not say because I feel like that would definitely spoil the ending of this book. But yeah, so basically in this, we do follow our main character, Jules, and Jules gets the opportunity to go and house sit, or I guess apartment sit, at this very prestigious and wealthy apartment named the Bartholomew. And the only stipulation with her job is that she gets paid extremely well, but she is not actually able to talk about any of the residents that are attending there, and she can't really talk about her job to anybody at all. She has to keep very quiet, and that is all I will say about this book, because I feel like that is all you need to know going into it. If that sounds intriguing, I would 100% pick this up. Again, this book is on the shorter side. I think it's around 300 pages, and something that you could read very quickly for a readathon, as it is super fast paced. And trust me when I tell you, you will be wanting to turn the pages because it is just so good. Again, another book that I have reread because I just absolutely love it that much. Okay, so that is going to be my 10 genre blend recommendations that I have for you guys. I hope that you have found some really good book recommendations. If you are participating in Escape the Readathon and you have not yet completed the prompt of reading a genre blend, I hope that this list really does help you choose something that you will absolutely love and make you successful in this readathon. That is it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you did make it to the end of this video, go ahead and leave the door emoji to represent Lock Every Door. If you did like today's video, I would love it if you hit that thumbs up like button. And as always, if you are new here, I would love to have you stick around. So please hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys all in my next one. Bye.